It's the Fantastic Four. Three. What the hell is this?
Hey guys, Ultra Maximus here, and I got another comic book review. I just kind of want to go over some of the books I picked up this week and talk about two in specific. First off, just some kind of catch ups on some stuff. I've been making the attempt to get caught up on Justice League Dark, one of my new favorite books. If you've not read this, if you've not taken a look at it, it's Zatanna, it's the Enchantress, John Constantine, Deadman, basically a bunch of the DC characters that handle the dark magics, and they're basically doing stuff Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman just can't do because, well, they're vulnerable to magic and they're not skilled in it. Their adventures never really cross those kind of things too much. So this is Justice League's answer, is essentially them kind of getting themselves together. Well, it's not really the Justice League putting them together. It's just they kind of form their own group. Probably, in my opinion, one of the better of the new books to come around from the new 52 stuff. So if you haven't read this, I think it's like on issue 8 or 9. I'm only on issue 2, so I'm kind of backed up, trying to catch up once a week, picking a book up. So that's good stuff. Also, came out this week, Super Crooks, issue number 3. There's one more issue left. This is the new book by Mark Millar. If you've not read this, it's a very good book as well. I've talked about this one before. Basically, a bunch of supervillains saying, hey, it's too many superheroes in New York, let's go someplace else, and where there are no superheroes, that way we can get away with it kind of deal. And they end up ripping off a Lex Luthor-like character. So, and then everything goes down in this book here. We got one more book to go to see how it all goes out. Very good stuff. If you've not read this, pick it up. I've seen a lot of these on the shelf. I don't know if it's not picking up very well, but it's a great read, good artwork, very good stuff. But the two books I really want to talk about this week, one's a crossover book, and one is an IDW book by John Byrne. So we'll talk about both of those. Both, actually, IDW books. First one I want to talk about is this. Star Trek, Next Generation, and Doctor Who. So a Star Trek, The Next Generation crossover with Doctor Who. Pretty intriguing. I remember this popping out. I am not a Doctor Who fan. Not to say I don't like Doctor Who. I apologize to anybody out there who is a Doctor Who fan if I've offended you. I've never watched it. I want to get into it, and I want to pick it up. I think I'm going to pick it up in the series. Is it the 7th Doctor? The 7th series? The one from the 90s? I think I'm going to pick up there, kind of the newer stuff, and then go forward. I just haven't had a chance to. So I apologize for any Doctor Who fans. I'm not steeped into it, and the reason I picked this up is because I am a Star Trek: The Next Generation fan, and being interested in getting into Doctor Who, I thought this could be a good introduction to me, being a non-Who fan, and getting an introduction to the characters and wanting to get to know them better. So, and I gotta say, not too bad. The characters are actually pretty decent. The majority of this book is about the Doctor Who characters. In this first issue, we don't get any of the Next Generation cast until the very end. It starts out, there's a Borg invasion, and the first of all, the artwork in here looks phenomenal. It's all painted. It's very nice. Very different. I was not expecting paint at all. I was expecting standard comic art. And Delta Prime gets attacked by the Borg, which, if you're not a Trek fan, the Deltans, we first get to meet the Deltans in Star Trek: The Motion Picture. The one cast member who gets attacked by V'ger and taken over by V'ger, she was Deltan. So the Borg attack Delta Prime, and we find out that they are, in fact, formed some kind of alliance with a Doctor Who villain, group of villains. Are those the Daleks? Daleks? Is that right? Is that, if I'm not, let me know. I'm interested to find out. I really haven't done any research on it, see who these characters are. There's some other kind of cybernetic organism, and I think The Daleks are cybernetic organisms, aren't they, from Doctor Who? I guess I'm really interested to find that out. What's going on with that? What the correlation between the two are? So we got the two bad guys teaming up. Um, the Doctor's in the past. He's in ancient Egypt going after a Time Lord, and I gotta say I like the Doctor. He's very pithy. He's kind of aloof. He's like not like the other characters that he's with are more concerned about what's going on than he is, and I really like that. I think that's pretty fun. And one of the best bits in it, he's I'm a doctor, and the guy's like, Doctor Who, and you come up the next page, he's like, no, just the Doctor. So very good stuff, very funny. Kind of goes through the thing, and they decide they're going to go to 1940s San Francisco, I believe, and the little time machine, the phone booth or police box, whatever it is, lands, and they make note that this didn't feel right. This was kind of an odd landing. They go through the whole thing, and they're like, oh, this is we're bound to see something unusual here, something unusual like that android in the pinstripe suit, which is kind of nice. They're obviously in the holodeck on the Enterprise D. This looks like it's from the Dixon Hill episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation, where they're in the holodeck. So I'm really interested to see how that plays out and seeing what's going on there. And then we get a advertisement for the second issue. So all in all, what do I think of this? It's an interesting start. Being a Star Trek fan, obviously I'm going to know the Next Generation characters and what's going on. But the majority of the book, it starts out with some Next Generation era Star Trek stuff, and then the rest of the book is pretty much introducing you to the Doctor and how he goes about business catching Time Lords, and kind of introducing you to that mythos, which, to be honest, I'm very much more interested in than I am the Next Generation stuff. I'm interested to see how it's going to tie together, and that's probably because I don't know Doctor Who. So I think this was a good test, little dip in the water for me. I'm not sure how many issues. It's called Assimilation Squared is the series, and it doesn't say like 1 of 4 or 1 of 6 or anything, so I'm not sure how many issues this is going to be. I'm going to guess 4 to 6 issues long. One of the cool things I really liked is the fact they've got the outline of the TARDIS next to the Next Generation pin. That is awesome. I wouldn't mind having a t-shirt of that, actually. Just super nice. Super geeky. This is one of the covers. They show all the other covers inside, including the one I was kind of hoping. It's Doctor Who on the Bridge. That was the big teaser one, but that looks like it's one of the incentive covers, which unfortunately they did not have. So I ended up going with this particular one. That's a nice little shot of Picard and the Doctor and the Enterprise D and the TARDIS. Very cool. Very glad to see the artwork something different. I don't know if it, now looking at this, I don't know if it would look as good as in comic format. So the paint job has really kind of give it a very big grandiose look. So very cool stuff. If you've not picked this up, you might want to pick it up if you're a Next Generation fan, Star Trek fan. You'll like it. If you're a Doctor Who fan, you're probably going to love it, I would presume. If you're like me, I'm not a Doctor Who fan. I don't know anything about Doctor Who. I want to know about Doctor Who. I just haven't had the time to get around and get into it. And I figured, you know what? Let this be my introduction so I can ease my way from the Next Generation into Doctor Who. And probably, I'm going to guess, by the end of this comic series, I'll probably start picking up the Doctor Who stuff on disc and checking that out. So, bravo to IDW. Very interesting concept, very different kind of crossover to come out, and very, very fun. So, There's for my buddies across the pond over there who watch my videos. I finally started to get into Doctor Who a little bit. Now, the other book that I picked up, this I saw, I was like, oh, what's this? I picked it up. I remember it being touted in some emails a while back, and then I forgot about it, to be honest, and I saw it was out, and I picked it up. Trio. This is a great book. This is written and drawn by John Byrne, who, I remember from the late 80s and 90s doing Superman comics, primarily. He's done other things, but goodness gracious, I love this book. What's it about? First of all, the real basic on it, you've got Trio, which is this group right here. It's got 3 members in it, and they're based off paper, rock, scissors. The girl is paper. She gets really super thin. This guy is scissors, basically. His hands turn into blades. And, of course, this Ben Grimm-looking guy is rock. He's all stone-like. And they go by 1, 2, and 3. And the media calls them, rock, rockster, scissors, whatever. The artwork inside this book, let me find a good page here, I'll just open up to the first page, very reminiscent of the old school comics from the 90s to 80s. This is a good shot. Very Fantastic Four-like. Essentially, this is a Fantastic Four-like group. There's a lot of differences that kind of go through, but it's very in the flavor of the Fantastic Four. Very old school written. We get this villain at the end, kind of very Submariner-like. And at the end of the book, let's see, where's that? We get an invasion kind of thing, very similar. And then there's issue 2. Very similar to Submariner attacking the Fantastic Four. Well written. Couple things surprised me. It was kind of interesting going through it. It's an old school comic book. It's late 80s to 90s. If you're into that kind of stuff like me growing up when I was a teenager, this is the kind of book that was out there. The other thing that I just like holding this book, because this book the paper stock is different. It's almost a cardboard. It's about as thick as normal. Compare this here. But it's flat. It's not glossy like this. And it feels so different than a standard book. And the other thing I like about this book, it's hard to flip through, no ads in it. I love that. Now it is $3.99. It's $4, but there are no ads in it. It's all comic book, which is very cool. And I think, in fact, the Star Trek book is the same way. 0 ads in it. So it's $1 more, $3.99, but there are no ads in it. It's a nice thick book. This is also a very nice thick book. Very, very well worth the money. While I like the Star Trek Next Generation Doctor Who crossover, this by far is my vote for book of the week. Absolutely. This is probably my new favorite book right now. As Saga, I think, is beginning to wrap up a little bit, this is really kind of taking the cake. Very nice. Going back old school. Highly recommend this book if you can find it. If it's out on the shelf, pick it up, get it. John Byrne, he is back, and he is doing awesome. So this is kind of the back side. It's a black and white version of the front cover, which is very cool. The alternate covers on the inside. This cover is far superior. I really like this one. I think this is the A version cover. Very cool stuff. Pick it up if you haven't seen it, or if you haven't read it, seen it. If you haven't seen it, if you haven't read it, pick it up. Very good. Like it a lot. Can't wait for issue 2. So thanks for watching, guys. Get out and visit your local comic book store and find something good to read. If you can't find something on the weeklies, then go back, get it. You know what I like to do? I like to go back. I like to look at the back issue bin. Look for something in the back issue bin. They usually also have a rack of books on sale you can get for 50 cents or a buck. Go back and check that stuff out. Go back and find a graphic novel, something. Get to your local comic book store. Find yourself something good to read. Get back out there. It's a great weekend to read comic books, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks a lot.